Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys checking out today's video and hanging out with me for a little bit. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topwater categories for the month of May and June. This is like the best time of year to fish it, and that is a prop lure, guys. A lot of people don't fish these anymore. They've been around forever. And guys, in May and June, under the right conditions, these things are unbeatable. So we're going to get into that in today's video. Also, guys, two quick reminders before we get started. Just want to let you know that we still have our Get Ready for Summer sale going on my Solar Bat Series, Signature Series glasses from Solar Bat. If you order a pair right now by the end of the month, you can get them at 30% off, including prescription lenses. And also, guys, we have our Summer Fish the Moment Lake Map breakdowns up on the site right now. These are maps that I build specifically for Fish the Moment. They're great resources to learn more about a new lake you're going to or your favorite lake. So I'll put everything in the link of this description if you guys want to check that out, and really appreciate it. Okay, guys, these prop lures have been around forever. The old, like the devil's horse, but they're basically just a floating topwater with a spinner on both sides of it. They have been around literally forever, and there's a lot of different categories of them. This has been one of my favorites. This is like the old Gilmore jumper here. So they come in a lot different sizes. But the ones I want to talk about today, specifically for the month of May and June, are these smaller prop baits. I'm going to link them also, guys, in my Tackle Warehouse description. I'll put the prop bait link in my Tackle Warehouse description if you guys want to get a few after this video. But there's a lot of different choices out there, but most of the time I like a 2 to 3 inch model like this. And also I do like some type of a perch pattern this time of year. We'll talk about that later. Okay, now let's talk about the, first of all, let's get into a little bit about, how to fish these and the equipment you want to fish them on. Then we'll talk about the areas that you want to throw them in, which is really important. Now, most of the time I fish it just on a typical topwater setup. I'll use 12 to 20 pound test monofilament line. You definitely want to use mono, because if you use fluorocarbon, it'll sink the nose down on these things because fluorocarbon sinks. 12 to 20 pound mono and some type of a medium action bait cast rod that's under 7 foot. The reason you want it under 7 foot is you can manipulate the bait better with wrist action on a shorter rod. The one that I use is that Megabass 110, the Megabass Destroyer 110 Special. It's a 6 foot 11 inch medium action. I'll link all that stuff in the description too. But that's the setup that I use for it. And most of the time what you're doing is, I like to fish them slow. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. I like to fish them slow. And so what I'll do is I'll make a cast out there with them, let it hit the water, and then I'll go boop, boop, like that. And then I'll let it set until the ripples dissipate, and I'll go doot, 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 like 2 or 3 twitches. And then let it set. And then what it does is the twitches, you want to make the twitches short, like just about this long. So you go, zut, zut, zut. It's got that little, buzzing sound. Zut, 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 and let it sink, let it set until those ripples completely dissipate, and then zit, 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 just like that. And normally what happens is after you start it up again, after it's been setting, that's usually when they'll hammer it, because what happens on a lot of this is like, you'll get their attention the first couple times by jerking it like that, and then they'll swim up underneath it, and they'll look at it sitting there, not moving with the ripples dissipate, and they'll just sit there and study it. I've seen them do this before. And then you move it again, and that's when they come up and grab it. So that's normally the situation I like as far as how to work it. Okay, now the important thing with that is where you want to throw this stuff at and the conditions that it works good in this time of year. Now, there's 2 different situations for this. First situation is any type of a shallow grass deal. And I don't really want to spend a lot of time talking about the shallow grass fishing, because most lakes across the country don't have grass. There's only like, 10 or 15% of the lakes that have grass. But if you do have shallow grass, any type of shallow vegetation next to it's going to be good. Over the top of, shallow hydrilla or milfoil, on the edge of some type of matted vegetation, on the edge of some hyacinths, on the edge of lily pads, can be really good for that on any type of shallow grass. But main thing is I want to talk about is the technique to use it on non-grass lakes in the month of May and June. Now, there's a window of time that these things are really effective, and that is when the bass are done spawning. They're done garden fry, they're done spawning, and they're ready to feed up again. And normally this takes place once that water temperature starts to hit the low to mid 70s, which is anywhere between, say, the middle part of May till the end of June, depending upon what part of the country you're in. Now, what happens, and we're going to be talking about this a lot over the next couple months, is largemouth bass, for the most part, once they're done spawning in a lot of lakes across the country, they move shallow and they stay shallow for about a month or so, and they're hunting perch, bluegills, black perch, pumpkin seeds, red ear sunfish, whatever, because the perch starts spawning, once that water temperature starts hitting 70 or 75 degrees. Now, the perch are going to spawn in the exact same lake locations that the bass spawn. Most of the time, if you go to the back of a flatter cove, you're going to see perch beds in there if the water's clean enough. If you have water visibility over 3 feet or so, you can actually see these beds back in there. Now, you don't have to have beds where you're fishing at to catch them on these prop baits, but that's why those fish are back there, is they're hunting bluegill. Now, you can have a cove or something that doesn't have any bluegill beds in it, but the bass will still move into those coves hunting those bluegills that are spawning. And this is when the prop bait works the best. This is the time of year you want to throw the prop bait. Now, what I used to do, or what I like to do with it, is I go back in the flatter coves. I'm looking for flatter coves. I get about halfway back in those coves, and I just start working whatever shoreline cover is available. If it's bare rock, I'm working bare rock. If it's a gravel or clay bank, I'm working gravel or clay. If there's some lay down trees or stumps or docks, I throw it around that. I'm basically fishing less than 4 foot of water, and specifically that 2 to 3 foot zone, which a lot of times is anywhere between, say, 1 foot to 5 feet off the bank. Throw it out there, twitch it a couple times, let it set, twitch it a couple times, let it set. Work at about 5 or maybe 10 feet at the most. And if you haven't had a bite after working at 5 or 10 feet, reel it in and make another cast. Just cover some water with it. Now, the conditions that this is going to work best in, it's a little bit different than traditional topwaters where it's just all about cloud cover. And the reason being is, yeah, it's going to work good if you have cloud cover or rain, don't get me wrong, but you're not capitalizing on the low light conditions with a prop lure like you are other type of topwaters. If you're fishing a topwater like a chugger or a walking topwater, the low light conditions are critical for that bait to work. But since these bass are up shallow feeding on perch, they don't pay much attention to the light intensity. So you can catch them on sunny days, cloudy days, any type of day that's out there. I do like a condition that you don't have much wind. I personally don't like much wind topwater fishing, but when you're fishing a prop bait, I like, some pretty calm conditions. It doesn't have to be glass calm, but if it's not, just a tiny little ripple, that's going to be really good. And the main thing is just committing to it. It's like when you're talking about fishing a prop bait this time of year, it's about putting that thing in your hand and covering as many of those cove back ends as you can get to. That's the whole key with it. You may fish 5 or 6 different coves and not get a bite, and then you may pull up in 2 or 3 of them and catch 4 or 5 fish out of each one of those. So it's also a really good way to catch big ones, guys. This is a really good technique to catch big bass, and there's a few people that have really mastered this technique, and a lot of people that are good with a popar or a chugger are also good with this prop bait. So anyway, it doesn't matter what lake you're fishing across the country, guys. Get you some of those prop baits. Like I said, I'll link them in my tackle warehouse link in this description if you want to stock up on a couple of them. Get you some perch patterns. That would be my suggestion. And just give it a try over the next month or two and see what happens. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk later.